When the first signs of the financial crisis emerged in 2008, the majority of European nations discovered that they were in the precarious situation of having their economic development slowed down. Because of the slump in its economy, Greece faced a significant challenge with its debt. The Greek people at the time participated in a number of strikes as a form of protest. At times, the Greek government was put in the unenviable position of having to sell off its own territory because of the dire circumstances. The port of Piraeus, which is one of them, is notorious for its bad management and is on the verge of going bankrupt. In spite of this, countries from all over the world are hesitating to take control of this port in light of the fact that it will soon be abandoned. In the end, China paid $48 million United States dollars to buy the port and received a franchise that will last for 35 years. It was a momentous occurrence that sent shockwaves throughout the entire world at the time. The purchase by China of the Piraeus port at the price of $48 million USD is seen by many countries in Europe as an extremely rash decision. Why then would China buy such a troubled port at the time? How is business at the port of Piraeus today? When we think about Europe, I believe the first thing that comes to mind is how prosperous the economies are across the continent. The economy of the nations that make up Europe are expanding at a rapid rate. For example, industrialized nations such as Germany, the United Kingdom, France, and other countries like these have traditionally had GDPs that rank among the highest in the world. On the other hand, the notion that Europe will be home to a number of little nations like Greece is a somewhat uncommon one. When compared to the rates of expansion seen in other countries, Greece's economy is expanding at an extremely snail's pace. And each time Greece is hit by an economic crisis, the country is always confronted with huge obstacles that have the potential to lead to the bankruptcy of the nation. Greece is considered to be one of the world's 4 ancient civilizations. Geographically speaking, Greece is situated in a very advantageous situation. Its location on the southeastern coast of the European peninsula gives it its name. After the end of World War I, an offer to Greece to become a member of the European Union was extended specifically due to the country's beneficial geographic location. Additionally, as a direct result of this, Greece's political economy has undergone a quick transformation, and the country's standing in the international community has also undergone a major elevation. Since the 1960s, Greece's primary focus has been on the expansion of its domestic tourism industry. Because of the success of the tourism business, its own GDP has increased at a rapid rate. However, due to the frequent occurrence of economic crises around the world and the Greek sovereign debt crisis, the Greek economy was severely damaged and ultimately destroyed at the beginning of the 20th century. This was a direct result of the combination of these two factors. At this time, the member states of the EU have decided to ignore the realities of the situation in Greece rather than provide support or sympathy. In order to find a solution to its economic problem, Greece was forced to sell several assets that were owned by the state for a fraction of their original value. One of them is known as the Piraeus port, and it serves as Greece's primary gateway for international trade and business. Even if Greece had agreed to hand over control of this port at the time, no country in either the Americas or Europe would have taken it. In the end, China paid $4,800 million United States dollars for the property and was awarded a license to use Piers 2 and 3 of the Piraeus port for a period of 35 years. However, as soon as word spread about the acquisition, European nations were unable of understanding Chinese practice. Even several European countries thought it was a bad move for China to buy the Piraeus port, which is located in Greece. According to the findings of the investigation, the port of Piraeus had already incurred losses totaling up to 13 million euros at that point in time. Because of the length of time that has passed since they were last maintained, several of the amenities that are located within the port are no longer usable. As a result of the economic crisis that swept through Greece, port workers did not get their wages. This occurrence caused a significant amount of frustration among the personnel. Since China is now in charge of the port, it is responsible for managing everything else that takes place at the Piraeus port. Because of this, the decision by China to pay $48 million to purchase the Piraeus port is regarded as particularly ill-advised by a number of countries in Europe. The question then becomes, why does China continue to pay exorbitant rates to use a port that is on the verge of going bankrupt? China paid $48 million US for the purchase of the Piraeus port in Greece. The purchase was made for 2 primary reasons. It is not conceivable for the countries of Europe to get any benefit from this situation. The initial primary cause because China is moving quickly to put its one belt, one road initiative into action. The country is currently in need of a port that is relatively secure, functional, and trustworthy, so that it may send domestic goods to the countries of Europe for the purpose of sale. In addition, as part of the transportation process, many different types of goods will need to be repaired and maintained at the port. Despite the fact that it is in poor condition, the Piraeus port in Greece is located in an outstanding location. In addition to the region's advantageous geographic location in Greece, this port is the western port that is located the closest to the Suez Canal. This proximity, together with the region's favorable environmental and climatic characteristics, makes it an ideal place for the storage of goods. China is in a better position to commercially benefit from the exploitation of this port than any other country. The second reason is that, despite Greece's membership in Europe, China bought the aircraft carrier Verge from Ukraine at the time. This ship had been harassed by Turkey and other nations while it was being carried, and China bought it because of this. During the same time period, Greece also provided assistance to China. China is a nation that places a high importance on peace and has a strong commitment to maintaining positive relations with its friends. In this regard, China is ready and willing to provide assistance to the Greek people at any time they may find themselves in need of it. Is it possible that China's purchase of such a deplorable Piraeus port will eventually lead to an improvement in the port situation? Building infrastructure is one of China's strong suits, and the country also has a strong foundation in management. China made the decision to improve the port in two different methods in response to the current situation of the port. China dispatched technicians from within the country to the area surrounding the port, where they spent 2 weeks repairing the port's infrastructure and getting it back up and running after it had been damaged. After receiving permission from the Greek region, the Chinese firm then commenced the process of rebuilding the deep water port. They did this by utilizing 15 extremely cutting kedge-lifting cranes. In addition to electric tire cranes, the port's energy has been reignited, and it now has a greatly expanded capacity for transporting goods compared to when it enjoyed its greatest period of economic success. On the other hand, given that the port is located in Greece, China has decided to recruit more than 1,000 additional employees from within the surrounding area. In addition, the workers have the opportunity to receive first-rate training so that they are not need to remain outside of their own country. China provided Greece with highly qualified applicants from their country to fill each open post so that Greece could improve its workforce. After only 2 months on the job, these 1,000 newly hired workers were able to complete the task in the roles to which they had been allocated, and the port's general productivity has also greatly enhanced. The Piraeus port is becoming increasingly significant to China. Taking this most essential step toward opening up the European market is the solution to cutting the costs of China's foreign trade. This is the most crucial step. At this point in time, it is possible that China will receive approximately $12 billion on an annual basis from the Piraeus port. This is an amount that is 3 times more than what China spent in that year to purchase the port. It is abundantly evident that China made the most intelligent choice possible when it decided to purchase the Piraeus port. When other countries observed how China altered the port and the actual economic benefits it offered, they came to the conclusion that China had made the correct move.